It was a hero's welcome for the man who has led the GOP to victory in 2 presidential races. The ovation for Mr. Reagan was deafening, sincere, and emotional. While the president spoke to members of his party, he directed most of his comments tonight to the American people. He ticked off his accomplishments and gave George Bush the strongest endorsement to date. In fact, Mr. Reagan said the nation would be at risk if it did not elect Bush to the next presidency.
When people tell me that I became president on January 20th, 1981, I feel I have to correct them. You don't become President of the United States. You are given temporary custody of an institution called the presidency, which belongs to our people. So if there's any salute deserved tonight, it's to the heroes everywhere in this land who make up the doers, the dreamers, and the life builders without which our glorious experiment in democracy would have failed. We rolled up our sleeves and went to work. In January of 1981, we focused on hope, not despair. We challenged the failed policies of the past because we believe that a society is great not because of promises made by its government, but only because of progress made by its people. And that was our change. To preserve what we have and not risk losing it all, America needs George Bush and Barbara Bush as First Lady. So, George, I'm in your corner. I'm ready to volunteer. I'm ready to volunteer a little advice now and then and offer a pointer or two on strategy if asked. I'll help keep the facts straight or just stand back and cheer. But George, just one personal request. Go out there and win one for the Gipper.
Win one for the Gipper. That line added late to the president's speech, added by First Lady Nancy Reagan. Clarice Tinsley is in New Orleans with our Channel 4 News team. Clarice, looked like they were having a party tonight.
Well, you know it, Steve. The president's speech brought down the Superdome here in New Orleans tonight. Let's go to Channel 4's Richard Ray, who was with the Texas delegation. Rich?
Clarice, the Texas delegation did make some news amid the hoopla here on the convention floor. Strangely enough, a call came down to the Superdome floor, and it was from, of all people, George Bush.
Hi, George. Where in the world are you?
And what are you doing?
I see. Well, I'm glad you're not here with me because I'm about to suffocate.
The phone was then passed around from Clements to Senator Phil Gramm, who chatted happily with Bush. The impromptu call also stirred a mad crush of media attention. Well, Clarice, right now the crowd has begun to file out. The mad crush is about over.
Okay, Rich, what a way to reach out and touch, huh? Now that the president's time in the spotlight is over, the focus of the convention moves back to George Bush. And the question on everybody's mind here, who will be the #2 pick? Channel 4's Barbara White is down in the Superdome with more on who Texas delegates think should be #2. Barbara?
Clarice, the main message from Texas delegates tonight is that George Bush needs a running mate who can add some spark to the ticket. When the party's over in New Orleans, Texas delegates say they'll wholeheartedly support George Bush and the person he picks as vice president, whomever it is.
I want to be sure of that when this convention is over, that regardless whether that was our first preference or not, we all unite and come behind the total ticket.
But while George Bush keeps quiet about his VP selection, other Texas delegates are eager to discuss and display their preference.
Dean Kirkpatrick was the candidate that brought the excitement, the experience, the authority to the ticket that even the very conservative element of the party was excited about.
I thought Lee Iacocca would be great.
Jack Kemp.
Recent polls have shown many of these Texans support Jack Kemp for vice president, and those conservatives are pushing hard and hoping for representation on the GOP ticket.
I think he will appeal to the younger voters. I think he will appeal to the very conservative voters.
Jack Kemp is a very youthful element compared to Lloyd Bentsen. that his conservative just fits in very nicely.
And tonight, delegates were prepared to show their enthusiasm for Kemp. As strong as Kemp's support is here, few delegates we talked to are warming up to Bob Dole as a Bush running mate.
Bob Dole's sarcasm just doesn't go over very well. That's what I found.
And actually, Clarice, most of the delegates told me that they really kind of like this vice presidential guessing game because they hope that it piques the public interest in their convention this week. Back to you.
Okay, Barbara, thanks. Joining us now is Texas Secretary of State Jack Raines, who's also a delegate to this convention. And Mr. Raines, thanks for joining us. As Secretary of State, you're in charge of elections in Texas, with a Texan at the top of the GOP ticket, a Texan in the number 2 spot for the Democrats. How big is the turnout going to be for the fall in Texas?
Clarice, we're going to have a barn burner here in Texas. It's going to be a great election, a lot of turnout, a lot of interest. It's going to be an exciting time.
A record?
I expect a record, yes.
In what area do you think in terms of numbers?
I think we'll have record registration and record turnout.
Okay. And very briefly, what about the issues, the key issues you think both parties are going to deal with for the fall?
Well, both parties have a problem defining where they want to go and where they want to take this country. Elections are about the future. And the Democratic Party, they're going to campaign. They want to see a change. The Republicans are going to emphasize peace and prosperity, and you have a good thing.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Clary.
Steve, tomorrow we're going to have some more excitement here in New Orleans. The convention opens in a morning session with a salute to senior citizens, and tomorrow night's session includes the keynote address and a speech by former President Gerald Ford. We'll be back tomorrow with more live from New Orleans at noon, 5, 6, and 10. See you then.
All right, Clarice, thank you.